Chris, how's it going, mate?
It's going great.
Welcome to Box and Burn.
Thank you. Well, it's always a pleasure being here.
Yeah, how do you like the gym?
I love it. I love it. So, I was at the other location a couple months ago, but it's my first time here. And yeah, it's beautiful. Great space.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Chris, let's tell us a little bit about yourself. Obviously, you're a boxer, but for people who don't know you, our regular listeners, tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, so I started my career actually in kickboxing. I think a lot of people probably know about that, but I actually had 20 pro kickboxing fights. I won 2 world titles. I fought literally all over the world in my kickboxing career. Started when I was 19 years old as a pro, and had my very first boxing match, which was my pro debut when I was 24.
That's mad. That's mad. You know, I get people messages and saying, I'm 19, I'm 17, I'm 20. Do you think that's too late to start boxing? And I always say no, because the guy, Audley Harrison, I don't know if you know familiar with him, he was an Olympic gold medalist, and I think he started boxing when he was 18. So if people ask you that, what would you say?
I would say no. I mean, it depends on how far you want to take it. But you got guys like a Bernard Hopkins or Sergio Martinez, the Argentinian fighter. He was a late start too.
He was like 22, right?
Yeah. He was a pro cyclist before that, I believe. So like he had professional experience as an athlete before. But those kind of guys, they found their niche in the sport, in their late 30s or mid 30s. I mean, Bernard, really, some of his best fights were in his 40s.
Right, yeah.
So it does take a long time to master, the art of boxing, but I don't think it's ever too late.
Did you see you started kickboxing at 19?
Yeah, that was my pro debut was 19 years old in kickboxing.
So before that, what did you do?
I had a few amateur kickboxing fights. I had about 5 or 6 of them.
Yeah.
I was a wrestler in high school, just regular scholastic school stuff.
And you won 2 world titles as a kickboxer?
Yes.
From 20 fights? Because that's not much, really, is it?
I was pushing for world titles after my 10th fight. I really wanted to. I knew what I wanted to do. I was actually sparring as an amateur with the current pro world champion kickboxer, Tim Lane, who was the ISKA world champion at the time, and so I had pro experience already. Yeah.
And then, so what made you want to box from kickboxing? The money?
No, honestly, I was actually always a boxing fan. That was really even where my love of kickboxing really came from. I grew up. Watching boxing with my grandfather. My mother's from Argentina, so we lived with my Argentinian grandparents.
Yeah.
And boxing is a huge sport down there. Mm-hmm. So I always grew up watching fights and hearing about champions and fighters of the past.
Right. So you've been boxing now for 9 years. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Fucking hell, that's ridiculous considering what you've done, and
Yeah, my 6th year was when I won the world title. I was 30 years old.
Right. So tell us about your boxing career. So you've had 24 fights, is that right?
Yep, 24.
And tell us about that.
Yeah, I started. It was a very grassroots approach, to my career. I was really literally fighting in my hometowns and selling tickets. Like I'm talking like literally divvying up the money and counting out tickets myself, up until my world title fight.
Right.
Honestly. Yeah. We fought on local shows. I main evented at the Paramount, which is in Huntington on Long Island, which is 7 minutes from my house. We'd pack it out every single time.
Right.
It was a good show, but you can only fit 1,000 people in there.
How did you become a big ticket seller, a big name? Because you're dashing good looks.
I'll take that. But honestly, what really helped me out? Social media. The advent of Facebook came out around the time, like my college years, and
it's so interesting listening to you talk about your boxing career, because I feel like you two are like completely the same. Like, because he had the same sort of thing, experience.
Yeah, big following.
Big local following, and was like early on social media and all that kind of stuff. And it just goes to show, like, if you put effort into the kind of business side as well, if you've got the talent and the ability with the boxing, that's what helps you elevate you to that next level, I guess. You got to, by all means necessary, you got to figure out how to get out there. And then on the flip side, you got guys who are, world champions and dominating, but like no one knows who they are because you can't even find them anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing. Social media is massive for boxing, and it frustrates us when I see very talented fighters, and they're not really using that to their advantage.
Absolutely.
Because, like you say, you can sell tickets, and everyone wants a ticket seller, right? So now you've had 24 fights, you've won a world title, you've fought, Ruslan
Provodnikov.
Yeah, that's who you beat for the.
Yes, that was for the world title. That was in my 20th pro fight. We fought at the Barclays Center.
Right.
It was on June 14, 2014.
I watched that fight, and the thing that was the most disappointing about that fight was the HBO commentary was just a disgrace.
Why?
Because he was just outboxing the shit out of him the whole fight. And I'm not just saying this because Yuri. I've thought this from when I watched it, and they just didn't give him a chance the whole time. They were like, all right, well, we're just waiting for Provodnikov to knock him out. And then it's like 5 rounds in, 6 rounds in. They're like, oh, well, this guy might stand a chance.
Right.
And then it's like, well, when's Provodnikov going to knock him out? That's the theme of the whole fight. And then it was like 10, 11 rounds. I'm like watching it thinking he's not got, you won the fight. You're outboxing him.
Andre Ward, finally.
And even like after like 10, 11 rounds, they were still like kind of refusing to admit that you were like clearly winning the fight. And then after 12 rounds, they're like, maybe we've got somebody here. I was like, fucking hell, wake up. You could have seen that from like 5 or 6 rounds if you knew anything about boxing.
Yeah.
Sometimes the HBO commentary just winds me up. It's so biased. But anyway, that's a side issue.
That fight from our side, we honestly thought that was kind of be somewhat of an easy fight. He wasn't. It was a guy that we knew that we could outbox. Especially at 140 pounds. I'm a long guy. I'm a fast guy. I had great conditioning. We knew we needed to utilize all those things. And I thought that I was going to be able to frustrate him early the way I did late, and kind of break him down over the rounds.
And did you got dropped in was it the second round?
It was first round.
First round.
It was about a minute and a half into the first round. I took a chance on a left hook and I got clipped. Yeah. And it damaged my eye. It hit me in a funny angle.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, you boxed with like one eye for like 12
How
rounds.
How was your mindset when you got put down? I never got put down in a fight, but I've always wondered about that. Like, obviously, we're fighters. We've got strong mindsets. But how was your mindset, especially in the first round? Was like, oh fuck.
That was my first time being down as a pro in boxing. I had been dropped in kickboxing before, but it had been 20 pro fights in a number of years since it had happened. But honestly, Tony, I was just pissed because I made a technical error. Right. I wasn't upset because of I got dropped and my pride or anything like that. I was just like, damn it! I knew I made a mistake, and I was like, I can't do that again. And this guy does hit as hard as everybody says.
That's a great mindset to have. It's like you putting it on yourself.
Yeah, I think from that there and getting up and winning, that just shows a lot about you, a lot about your heart and determination. Because that for some fighters that would have just been like shit, especially in the first round.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to have a proper strong mind, be very mentally tough, like world champion. So you've got that, to get through that. And then winning that fight, what was that like?
That was a crazy moment, man. That was my third world title because I won the 2 kickboxing world titles, and those meant just as much to me. But that night, I don't know, it validated everything that I was doing as a boxer. Right. I was having a lot of trouble kind of getting recognized as a boxer and not a kickboxer anymore. So I think that really validated everything that I had done and all the work that had been put in. And then to do it through such a grotesquely injured eye, and getting off the deck and doing it in front of so many people too. It was one of the first fights at the Barclays Center. It was massive.
So now you're world champion. Does that motivate you even more to achieve more in the sport, or obviously you never just got complacent?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's funny. I'm a very goal oriented person, and even from a young age, I always said like I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do that with my kickboxing career. I said the same thing with my boxing career, and it was one of those things where I didn't aim high enough, honestly, because I got to 30 years old, I was a world champion, and I was making money, and I was just like, oh man, I should have really kind of shot further. I think I should have planned on winning multiple titles and going to different weight classes, those kind of things. So I kind of had to like readjust my goal setting after that fight. But winning a world title definitely made me hungry. It made me hungrier for more.
And then after that fight, was it Manny Pacquiao you fought?
Pacquiao was the very next fight.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm guessing the build up, like when that fight got announced, your life changed. Right?
Yeah. Well, that the build up for that fight started at the post fight press conference, the Provodnikov fight. So Bob Arum got up there and he was just like, I'd like to see Chris Algieri fight Manny Pacquiao, because they were setting up Ruslan to fight Pacquiao.
Right.
And so once I had beaten Provodnikov, it was that we didn't have a rematch clause. I didn't think it was necessary to even have one at all anyway.
Right.
Neither did Bob, obviously. But it's funny. I even got the Provodnikov by beating a guy who was supposed to fight Provodnikov. Right. A guy named Emmanuel Taylor. He was 17-1 at the time, had 12 knockouts, had just scored 2 big knockouts on national television. He was supposed to kill me too. Right. I beat him in order to get the Provodnikov fight, and then winning the Provodnikov fight got me the Pacquiao fight.
Yeah. So you've got that fight. I'm just imagining, like from my personal experience, it's like qualifying for the Olympics. It's like, wow, now you're there. Now it doesn't get any bigger than fighting Manny Pacquiao in the sport, especially when you did, and it's like so exciting and so nerve-wracking. You've got a big task ahead of you.
Yeah.
but I'm sure you were up for that task.
Fighting Manny Pacquiao is an experience. It's not a fight. People always say, like, how was the Pacquiao fight? I'm like, man, it was the Pacquiao experience, because we had a multi-week press tour all over the world. Like, I think we stopped there 7 or 8 cities or something like that. You're traveling with the man you're fighting in 2 months, you know, like very close quarters with our teams and whatnot. His humongous entourage and my 4 guys, you know, at the time. So it was really an experience, and incredible for me to I mean, have boxing help me see all these places that I, you know, probably wouldn't have seen.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Do you think that whole experience and all the press and all that affects your performance in the fight ultimately? Like
it can.
Yeah.
It can, and I think
it comes down to mindset again, right? You got to be tough to, like, kind of blank that out and separate it.
Absolutely, and I think especially in professional boxing, and I think people miss this idea, is that it is a team sport. You have a lot of guys around you. You got a lot of teammates, and they have to do certain things, whether it's your manager or your trainers or your cutmen, and what they have to do to kind of protect their fighter in terms of all those outside influences.
Right.
It's very difficult when you get thrust into a scene like that, and unfortunately for our situations, it was all of our first times. You know, I was with my coaches from day one, who they were kickboxing coaches. You know, we had made it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, that my 2 coaches were 2 former kickboxing coaches.
So it was an experience for them as well.
Exactly.
And I'm sure with that, it's like you say, it's all new to you. So it's like, is it overwhelming, would you say?
Absolutely, absolutely. But I think you alluded to this earlier. I'm a pretty strong mentally focused and guy. You know, I was kind of good at managing all that, but it was tough because, like I said, I had to manage my team as well. You know, they were new and fresh to it, and so we kind of had to rein some guys in.
Yeah, because I mean that's your team's kind of, like you say, it's everything really, because they've got to know what to say and when to say it at the right time to keep your mindset.
And when to say no and when to say yes, because you don't have to do everything, and we didn't realize that. You know, we had these media obligations, and it's just like, oh, they're running me around ragged.
Right.
Whereas I got with trainers later, and they're like, no, you say no to that stuff. You got to go rest.
Yeah. So did you move trainers after that fight?
I did. Yeah. I had moved to John David Jackson.
Right.
And our very next fight after the Pacquiao loss, I jumped right back in. I went right with Amir Khan.
Yeah, I know. Let's talk about the Pacquiao fight before we get into Amir.
Yep.
So you get into there. Let's rewind. You're in the changing rooms before the fight. What's your mindset like? Different to any other fight?
No. And they had asked me in the press conference for the Veronica fight, like, would you fight Manny Pacquiao in your next fight? I said, yeah. They said, would you fight him in China? And I said, are we fighting in a ring? They go, yeah. Like, okay, so that's all that matters. Yeah. You know, at the end of the day, for me, I was just, it was Pacquiao, it was Manny Pacquiao, was, you know, a living legend. But at the same time, it's just a man, you know, and it's a boxing match.
Yeah.
You go out there and fight.
Because, you know, like, if you beat Pacquiao, you're a household name, really.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't really think like that so much. Like, I wouldn't want to think of the next thing.
Right.
But I really just kind of want to focus what was in front of me. But, you know, it's definitely hard to do when the magnitude is like that big.
Do you think his style made you more reluctant to let your hands go, because it's just was like the speed like overwhelming, or more than what you anticipated?
No, the thing about Manny is you can't really prepare for him, and it's not so much the speed, it's the angles. It's the awkwardness, it's the unorthodoxness, it's I explain this all the time to people. It's not even so much that he's so awkward and the angles there, but he generates power still.
Right.
He's in positions where he shouldn't be able to hit you hard, but he still can. It's like when I was in the ring with Brodikov, there were a lot of instances where I felt safe. I was in a position, I was off an angle, I was over his shoulders, outside his foot. I'm like, okay, I'm safe here. He's not going to be as strong here.
Yeah.
Pacquiao's not like that.
Yeah.
You think you're safe, and then he pops you.
He's the one that's offsetting you all the time, right?
And he's making all these fine adjustments. He's incredible. He really is an amazing fighter.
Yeah. So you lost that fight.
Yeah.
What was I never seen that fight. Did you watch that fight?
I watched the fight. Yeah.
Yeah. How did that go?
I couldn't get anything going. You know, we had a game plan. I'm a game plan guy. If you tell me to do something as a coach and coaching me, I'm gonna listen.
Right.
You know, I've always been that kind of boxer and that kind of athlete. And the game plan was to be more defensive and counter fight and kind of get into the later rounds. We were expecting a much more aggressive Manny, kind of like that guy's going to try and blow you out kind of guy. Mm-hmm. But later in his career, after the Marquez fight, he became a really good boxer, counter puncher. Yeah. And that's kind of what the fight, he used a great jab that night, movement. They were worried about my size, so he really used a lot of boxing that night. It was completely what I didn't expect.
Good guy as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
seems like a really good
Solid,
guy.
very solid.
So yeah, like you said, then after that fight, you got the fight with Amir Khan. Amir Khan, massive, probably one of the biggest names in British boxing for the past, I don't know, so many years. He was an Olympic teammate of mine.
Yep.
He won the 2004 Olympics. How did that fight come about? Straight after Manny?
That was funny. That was a fight that, for me personally, I always saw myself fighting Amir Khan. I thought that was a great fight for me over the years. I mean, even like when I was sub 10 pro fights, I was like, I could really see myself fighting Amir Khan. Like,
Right.
I'd like that fight. I think that fight makes sense. I think our styles would mesh really well. Not even sure exactly how it came up, but I mean, the name came up and I jumped at it. I was like, absolutely. I think that's it. You know, most people would probably have been like, that's not the best fight to have coming off your first loss against Manny Pacquiao, but I didn't care. I thought it was a great opportunity.
Do you think Khan was looking for the Pacquiao fight? Do you think he wanted to do a better job on you than Manny?
He literally said that. He said that.
Did?
Yeah, he said that was trying to earn him the Mayweather fight.
Right.
He was saying if I can stop Chris and Manny couldn't, that's going to get me the Mayweather fight in September.
Yeah.
My plan was to beat Khan and steal that Mayweather fight, just like I had done with the Pacquiao fight. But it just didn't go that way.
So sorry, go on. I was just going to ask, speaking of speed again, was that a fighter that you were surprised by his speed? Because I know a few people have said, like, well, he's fast, but they don't really... It's surprising when they actually get in there with him how fast his hands are.
So I actually... It's really hard to compare fighters, but I compare Manny's and Amir Khan's speed. It's two of the fastest guys we've seen in recent memory. I fought them back-to-back. I actually think... Amir Khan's combination punching is faster than Pacquiao's.
Right.
Pacquiao's a really fast first step. His first movement's really quick. But he's got lag in his punches where Amir's are very, very tight. So his combinations are super fast. But I think I was really prepared for Khan and his speed. I don't think his speed was really what gave me the issue that night.
Right.
So how would you see that fight going?
I still think I won that fight.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great fight.
I think everyone did.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much. You know, I know how Amir Khan's style is. I'm a big fan of Amir Khan. I think he's a fantastic fighter. Yeah. He's got his style. He's very good at utilizing the ring, being a ring general, firing fast combinations, tying you up, spinning you, going back and tuning it over and over and over again. If you get into a boxing match with him, it's very difficult to win rounds.
Yeah.
Right.
So I had changed my game plan entirely, and I literally beelined for him. I went from my corner to his corner. I cracked him an overhand right in the first round, hurt him, and really that was kind of the game plan, to get after him and get him late. Yeah. He trains super hard. He's in phenomenal shape. I was really impressed with his conditioning because I expected him to fade late, and you know, he kept it up. I still think I edged it. To this day, I enjoy watching the fight. It's a fun fight to watch. Yeah. But it's just
he's someone who, like you see, you started late. He started early,
right?
And he was a super talented fighter. I remember sharing. I don't know if I told you this. I remember sharing a room with him when he was like 16. I was like 18, and I said, and he said to us, he went, "I'm going to go to the Olympics in 2004." I'm like, "All right, mate, definitely." He's like, "No, I'm going to go there. I'm going to win gold medal." I was thinking, this fucker's fucking crazy. And then, I mean, fast forward, he qualified, and then he went and he got a silver medal. Like, I've never seen anyone who said they're going to do something and like so confident and so believes in himself so much and actually done it.
Yeah.
You know, super talented guy. So I mean, now we've spoken about Manny, we've spoken about I mean, who would win out with them two?
I have always said that I thought that Amir's style would give Manny fits.
Right.
I think the size, the length, and just like I said, the style that he has in terms of using his footwork, firing his fast combinations, it would come down to if Manny was able to time him.
Right.
I think Manny had the power to hurt him.
The exciting thing about that fight, I think, is it'd break out into a bit of a war at points as well. I think they'd stand there and have a bit of a tear up with each other.
And that's the great thing about Amir is like he'll stand and fight too.
Yeah.
You know, even when he's outgunned,
he loves a tear up.
Yeah, he'll still do it.
That's been his downfall, if anything.
Absolutely, I agree.
Let's talk about life, Chris. Tell me, so what do you do outside of boxing?
So I've always been a good student, and my family, I'm very family oriented. Between my Argentinian and my Italian side, family is a big part of the cultures. But they've always stressed that education was really important. So throughout my professional kickboxing career and majority of my boxing career, I was a full-time student as well. So I got my undergraduate degree from Stony Brook University on Long Island in pre-health. It was like a pre-medical program. Right. And then I got my master's degree in clinical nutrition during my boxing career.
Yeah.
And now I actually work as a nutritionist, a sports nutritionist.
Oh, you do?
Yes.
Yeah. So you're working outside of the boxing as well?
Yeah, so I am the head performance nutrition coach at Stony Brook University. That's a Division I school.
Wow.
I have 400 students underneath my watchful eye, nutrition eye.
Yeah.
We built the program from the ground up.
Right.
And it's going to grow. It's growing every year. This is the second year I've been working with them, and we've made some great strides with our athletes and what we're able to provide for them. Not just in terms of their education, but in terms of actually the foods and the products and the things that are available to them.
How? Go on.
I was going to say, you can start talking to him and educating him on nutrition, because whenever I tell him anything about it, he won't listen to me.
Well, what do you think of the high-fat diet?
The thing about diets is, depending on what your goals are.
Right.
When you say high fat, you're thinking like a ketogenic diet.
Yeah.
Okay. I think for most sedentary adults, it's probably fine, and it can work, and it can work for anyone in terms of the way you look.
Yeah.
But in terms of performance, it's not. Fat is not the optimal fuel for any kind of explosive movement or long duration. Fast repeats, which boxing needs.
Mm-hmm.
People ask me about being ketogenic boxing. I'm like, you're not gonna be as fast. You're not gonna be as strong.
Mm-hmm.
If you're doing like a long duration run, sure. But if you have to be explosive with repeat sprints, it's not the right diet plan.
Yeah.
So what would your diet be on what would you eat on a day of a training camp?
Yeah, so I'm actually in training camp. Well, Daniel Jacobs just fought last night. I'm his in-camp nutritionist for his last 2 fights.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so I've been working with Danny, full time for his last 2 camps. I'm in camp with him for 2 months. It's been a great experience. He's progressed quite a bit. He's a big middleweight.
Right. Yeah.
But honestly, we're making the weight pretty easy at this point. It's pretty cool.
That's pretty. I've never heard that before. Like another boxer, like a high-level boxer like yourself, helping other high-level boxers in stuff like that.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
What would a typical day be? Ideal day for a boxer.
So I'll use Danny as an example, since I'm literally coming fresh off his camp from last night. He generally wakes up when we start our day with a green shake. We want to get our nutrition in right away. We want to get as much greens in as possible. Spinach and broccoli, with some protein powder. We usually put some kind of juice in there. I'm a big fan of beet juice because of the nitric oxide. Opens up the blood vessels, opens up the vascularity, gets kind of the metabolism going early in the day. And then we either have a cardio session then in the morning after the shake, or we're going to rest if we have sparring, for example, in the afternoon, and we'll have like a breakfast. Yeah. I generally keep the carbs heavy on a sparring day, on a day when he's going to be boxing. So something like a bowl of oatmeal with some eggs on the sides and a lot of fruit. On leaner days or days where he's not going to be as active or doesn't have to be maybe as technically sharp when we're trying to kind of cut his weight down, I'll cut the carbs back a little bit. Maybe I'll do like a more vegetable-based omelet, sides of cut up peppers. Still have some fruit, but just less carb central than on sparring days. Yeah. And then after that, so we utilize a lot of shakes and things immediately after workout, just because the liquid absorbs faster. We want to get glycogen resynthesis going after your training. We want to have protein for recovery, and then we have a couple other smaller meals throughout the day. Danny, for example, is a big fan of bison meat, so we normally have bison meat 3 days a week during camp. Keep his iron levels up, keep the high quality protein coming in, keep the fats and calories up.
Yeah. And then obviously lots of water.
Lots of water throughout the day. Keeping the hydration is really important, especially as you get closer to fight time.
Yeah.
I have a lot of athletes who will reach out to me, or coaches who will come to me a couple days before the weigh-in. Hey, my guy weighs this. What can we do? I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what his hydration level's at. I can't tell you how much water he can pull in order to make the weight. It's like, oh, he's 3 pounds over. That's nothing, right? Well, if he's already dehydrated, 3 pounds is a lot.
Yeah.
If he's fully hydrated, then it's a workout. He's good. If he's severely dehydrated, that's not coming off. I'm sure you've seen this too, Tony. Guys will be working out in a sauna for 2 hours and lose half a pound.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
The body just won't give it anymore.
Yeah, that's crazy. I remember Frankie Gavin. Are you familiar with Frankie Gavin?
Yeah, absolutely.
So he qualified for the Olympics the same time as me. He won the World Championships amateur, unbelievable amateur boxer, and he was the same. He was training every single session in a sauna suit, and then getting weighed, and then having a little bit to eat, a little sips in the sauna, working out all the time, and losing half a pound. And it's just like fuck. And his piss is like orange and it stinks.
How far out from the fight?
Like 3 weeks. So he failed though. He just give up. He was like 2.5 kilo. It's like 5 pound over and he just gave up and he never went to the Olympics, which was so sad because a guy who he beat pretty comfortably won the gold medal. In fact, he would have definitely won the gold medal, that Russian kid. But it comes down to, I think it comes down to discipline. Like you can't rely on doing it the week of. I think with me, I'd done it for 8 weeks. I would diet correctly for 8 weeks and maybe pull 2 pound off the day before. I don't know what, but the UFC, they do it even worse than boxing. Have you seen that?
I work with a lot of pro UFC fighters myself.
You do?
Yeah, I actually work probably more UFC and MMA guys than I do boxers at this point. Because they do have very drastic weight making methods, and they can do it more than boxers because of the style of the sport itself. And it probably helps them more to be heavier than it would for a boxer. If you're a boxer, if you're gaining 20 pounds, it's not going to help you. You need to be fast and fit and keep your conditioning up. But with the MMA, you've got that ground portion, the gripping, the holding, the body weight, much more than a boxer does. So putting weight on can be more beneficial or can be utilized by them better than a boxer. But yeah, some of these guys, they're pulling 25 pounds.
Did you see that video with that Cyborg?
When she was Chrissy Cyborg.
Yeah. Did you see that where she was like crying, like in pain, like fucking dying, and there's people around her.
Scale
I mean, did you see that video the other day with some
the guy that was
Chinese
couldn't
guy
even walk off the
who
scale.
carried him to the scale?
I saw that. Yeah, I did see that.
Fucking hell, how sad's that?
Now you got to go fight.
Yeah.
Now you got to go fight.
Yeah. I mean, them trainers need to be ashamed of themselves, and everyone around that should be ashamed of themselves. He shouldn't be able to fight like that, surely, right? He should feel medical.
It's an extreme case, but how that's even happening is beyond belief. It's ridiculous.
So, Chris, how often are you working, like outside of boxing?
I mean, I don't have a lot of clients like Daniel. Obviously he's my biggest client. He's my star client at the moment. So when he has camp, kind of shuts down everything else, and I have to kind of really focus on him. But in between, like I work remotely with a lot of athletes and that are on long distance, and I send them meal plans and we talk on the phone. They kind of reach out to me. It's more of a consultation base. How do I do this? Where should I do that? My weight's here. How do we look? Like when guys have fights, like fight week, I'll talk to them multiple times throughout a day. Every day until the fight.
Do you enjoy that?
I do. I like sharing the knowledge of and my experiences going through this. Even like you were saying, like it takes discipline, but it also takes some education. It takes some knowledge about how to do this the right way and why you're doing it. So I and also it keeps the sport safer. You got guys now who are coming into fights healthier. There's less of a chance of there's always a risk in our sport. Our sport's deadly. But we're limiting that risk by having these guys be properly hydrated, properly fueled, making the weight the right way.
Yeah, totally. How big are you on supplementation as well with your nutrition plans?
I think the thing about supplementation is it's just that it's a supplement to a whole foods diet. I think the higher up the competition level you get, the more reason there is to supplement. The higher level of the training load, the training volume throughout the week, it becomes very difficult to hit certain nutrition markers if you're not utilizing supplements as well. So I do use them quite a bit with myself and with my athletes.
Any specific examples for like which purposes you use supplementation, like like joint health or like focus, mental performance, that side of things?
Yeah. So people ask me all the time about like pre-workouts. Like I'm not really a big guy on pre-workout. I feel like my heart rate goes through the roof. But I am a big fan of coffee. So I use coffee quite a bit. And I found I was also a fan of nootropics, which are good for mental focus. Our sport is a skill sport, even though it's a very physically demanding metabolic sport. So there's a brand, Chimera Coffee, which combines the two of coffee, you're getting caffeine, but there's also nootropics to keep you sharper. So I utilize that as a pre-workout.
We have that in our gyms, and it's fantastic. We love it.
Awesome.
We have it before we train, when we train clients, and we're on fire.
Yeah, well, one thing that I love about the Chimera Coffee is that they put L-theanine in there. So that kind of like counter affects the caffeine in a sense where like instead of getting that like jittery, like wired feeling, where you don't want that when you're training. Like we were saying, like pre-workouts give you that overstimulation. The theanine like gives you just that focused, like clear kind of energy, I find anyway. Let's say like green tea, right?
Yeah.
That's high in theanine. So
Yeah, we've got it on tap in the gym, and then you see the trainers just walking around, just like full of energy.
We're
and
wired to go.
People's just fucking loving them, and they're performing really well.
I gotta grab some of that later. But there's some other supplements that I think are really really beneficial. Creatine monohydrate is one that gets a bad rap, but the science supports the health of it actually, and how safe it actually is. And the one point that it does, I mean, it does make you more explosive. It helps with it as a buffer, so you can do fast repeats and explosive movements more.
Yeah.
You can get one more rep out of a workout, something like that. But it is great for brain health. There's more and more research coming out that post-traumatic brain injury, creatine monohydrate can be beneficial for neurological safety and recovery.
Yeah.
So I think for any athlete who's going to be getting hit in their head, boxers obviously more than most, football players as well, creatine has a good place in the cupboard.
How do you find it as far as retention of water weight? Because I know that's one of the criticisms of it is like you tend to hold way more water weight when you're supplementing with creatine.
That's definitely something that I think that it keeps fighters away from it, because boxers, we're always worried about the scale. Like every fighter, most guys are afraid of the scale. They don't even want to get on it, see where they're at. It creates a very catabolic nature to the sport. Everyone's always trying to lose. But the thing about the creatine weight retention that's involved is that you retain it in your muscles. That allows your muscles to work more efficiently and work better and be stronger. But it clears after a few days. So if you were to cut it out leading up to the weigh-in, you're going to find that you're actually losing weight faster anyway. Okay. So it's and generally it's like a kilo or a pound 1 to 3 pounds is usually what you find. Everyone's different, but yeah, I always suggest to my athletes just cut it out 3 days before the weigh-in. You're good.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit. You touched on there about the brain health. Is that something you worry about with boxing?
1,000%. Oh
you
yeah.
do?
Oh yeah. Always have.
Right.
Always have something that being an intellectual guy and being a student my whole life, and being around other intellectual people, especially in the world of health and medicine, it got brought up all the time. Like, what about your brain? Like, you're doing a sport where you're literally losing brain cells. I'm like, yeah, but that's why. For one, I train the way that I do. I'm in the best shape possible. 2, I eat the way I do, so I'm properly fueled and have the right nutrients for recovery. 3, the way I fight. I don't fight. I'm not a forward-nosed banger, who's getting taken a lot of punishment. So there's ways to minimize the risk, but again, the sport is risk.
It's refreshing to hear that, because I've had boxers on here before, and it's something I asked them about, and it's something that I think about a lot right now. And they're like, nah, we don't really think about that, because then they say the last thing you want to think about, and I get it in the camp, is like you've been punched and spun, that's going to do damage, long-term effects, so it's refreshing to hear that because this is something that I'm very worried about now. Like I said, I had 106 fights and been punched in the head an awful lot of times, and there's a place in Vegas called the Cleveland Clinic. Have you heard of that?
I have. Absolutely.
Have you been?
I have not. No.
Yeah, so they'll fly you out there if you. I can give you the contact. They'll fly you out there and they'll do these brain tests, computer tests, and all that. Yeah. It's very interesting. They're trying to figure out. I don't know what they're trying to figure out really.
It's just a lifelong study. It's like just a continuous study, and they're 7 years in, and their subjects are all ex-pro fighters, UFC fighters, and they're just annually testing them on. Like cognition, like reflexes and balance and things like that. And then just over the course of like 7 years, they're just trying to see like degradation or improvements and that kind of thing.
I think that's fantastic. I think the more research that we can get on our athletes, our boxers specifically, I think is great. I mean, it's going to help the future. Yeah. We can also flag guys that there may be potential problems down the line. We won't see some of these tragedies that occur.
Yeah. I seen that Aaron Hernandez the other day got the tested his brain. Do you know that footballer?
Yes.
And he had bad CT as well.
Oh, that's the one that you sent me that on Twitter, was it?
Yeah. So I think, are you familiar with that guy?
I am, yes.
Yeah, so he
and
murdered
this situation,
his friend, or was it? I'm not really sure, but I know he murdered someone. And now it's been flat, like he had CTE, bad CTE, and one of the things with CTE is you get anger issues and anger problems. So now it's like, did this cause him to go and fucking kill someone?
Right. The hard thing with CTE, I think, is it's not diagnosable yet, is it?
It's not. No.
I think that's one of the main things they're trying to get out of this Cleveland Clinic study is like, how can we get to a point where we can actually like see traits in personalities and actually diagnose CTE? Because right now it's only like post.
Yeah, when you're dead, that's the only way you can find out.
When you cut the brain open, check it out.
Scary stuff.
It is. It really is scary stuff, and it's kind of like opening Pandora's box as well. If we're figuring out that we've got these great athletes who now have this brain damage, then what do we do with that information?
Yeah.
Like, do we cut these guys' careers?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you're supposed to do, like, I mean, it doesn't help. Like, I was 10 years old when I started fighting, you know, and getting punched as a 10-year-old fighting all the way through like 27, getting punched in the head that many times. Obviously, it's had some effect on you. You know what I mean? But what can you do? How can you make boxing safer? You cannot really, unless you cannot unless you do shoulders and body.
I think it's about attitude and mentality, and that's what's refreshing about Chris.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like you're aware of it, and you're smart enough to understand. Okay, this is a dangerous sport. This is going to have an impact on my brain and my body. What can I do to, maximize the trauma and the effects and protect myself from it? Give myself maximum protection from it.
I'm still crazy enough to put myself on the line, but
totally.
but
Things like diet and nutrition and looking after your brain and looking after your body and just basic things like reading and being smart and up on top of all this stuff is probably going to protect you more long term than somebody who pays zero attention to it. It's just like, oh, I'm a fighter, I get punched, I don't give a shit. Boom.
Or I don't want to think about it and lose my edge.
Yeah, exactly. Kind of bury that in the sand a little bit.
Yeah, you're educating it, which is really good. Like when I was just in New York there, I was in a gym called Mendes Boxing Gym.
Yeah.
And there was a guy in the ring there sparring with some novice, and he's letting the novice punch him in the face pretty hard, and he's like, come on, and he's letting him punch him in the face, and I'm just sitting there cringing, thinking, you fucking idiot, stop that. Because, I mean, I've done that as well when I was younger, and it's because you don't realise.
It's like a bravado thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And there's so much of that in just fight world.
Yeah, it's just like, come on, mate, what you fucking, I felt like giving him a shake,
Yeah.
But like you say, if we can educate more people on what you're saying, and you know that your nutrition's going to help this, and doing stuff like not letting people punch you in the face, trying to work on defense, I think that would help as well.
Oh, yeah, totally.
I think I was lucky too with my coaches just throughout my entire career, because they really stressed like defense and not being tough for the sake of being tough.
Right.
Even throughout my boxing career, I was always known as a boxer. And then the Pravanica fight showed that I was actually tough.
Right.
That was kind of like the thing people were going into that fight saying. It's like, well, once he gets hit with something, like he's never really been hit. Once he gets hit, that's going to be it. I had always been tough. I just never had to show it. But I was always pushed by my coaches to not utilize my tough side, to use my smarts. And don't take unnecessary punches.
Right.
Don't. There's never a reason to get hit.
Totally.
If you could avoid it.
Yeah.
Do you know any other fighters who's got that mindset? Because I don't think I do. Maybe it's because you started when you were older, you're more educated on it. Where a lot of fighters start at the age of 10 and they don't know any different.
And I guess I never really thought about that exactly, about with other fighters if they really think about it. But
yeah.
But I just think, like, we've talked about this before on the podcast, but like someone like Floyd, who's just a defensive master, and how much shit he gets for his fights being dull and boring and not entertaining. It's like the bottom line is people want to see a tear up. That's the entertainment side of it.
Yeah.
But it's like, to me, the entertaining side is seeing someone with just pure skill who can avoid punches and outscore the other person. That's the art of the skill of boxing. Hit and not get hit.
So
right?
Chris, what's next?
I'm looking to get back in the ring next year. I've been away from the sport for a little while. I had to work some things out from the business side. I had to work some things out from even just my passion side, for the sport. I say it all the time. This is the best sport in the world. It's the worst business in the world.
Yeah.
And it can really tear you down. And I don't want to leave this sport hating it.
Yeah.
So I think it was good for me to take a little bit of a mental health rest after those big fights and those big couple years I had. But my passion for the sport is alive and well. I'm excited for the future of what was going on with boxing. I'm excited for my future.
Yeah.
I still think I have a lot of big fights left in me, and I want to make another run at world title.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, because you said you had goals before. What's the goals now? You want to get that title back?
I want to be a world champion again.
Nice.
I want to be a world champion. I never lost my title in the ring. I was stripped. I was 20-0 and I got stripped. Before I fought Pacquiao. I think that there's a place for me having some straps.
Yeah.
Are you looking? Would you be back at 140?
I would fight either. I think I'm better served at 40, and I can still make it. I never. If you look at even on my records, I've never weighed 147 for any of my welterweight fights. I'm always a couple pounds under. It really, I didn't have to cut a lot of weight for those. 140, I have to squeeze a little bit, but You know, even when I fought Provodnikov at 140, like I was the guy more energetic at the end. So obviously, you know, making the weight wasn't the issue.
Yeah.
Good. Chris, where can people find more about you?
Easiest place is chrisalgieri.com. Everything, you got everything through there.
And your social media?
It's all through
on
there too. It's all,
there.
if you can spell my name, you can find me. Good luck with that, though.
All right, mate. Well, thank you very much for coming on the Boxing Life podcast. It's been great talking to you. And next time you're in LA, let's do it again.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
Thanks
Chris.
Thanks
Nice
so
one.
much, guys. Awesome. Really good
Nice
stuff.
one.